Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sean and Sack Show. Almost forgot what we were called. You're gonna need. We're mixing it up. We have microphones today. We've been using a boom mic, and
Saxony's graduated
Saxony
to a new level.
Not doing good here.
You guys,
The audios will be better, but she does not know how to do this. I've done a ton of podcasts, and I'm totally fine with mics. But our very first episode, Sax just couldn't hold it together. She couldn't make the microphone work. She's like, "What do I do with this thing?" And was moving away from it.
I learned on stage, though, I really love holding the mic. Because, it's
sure
like,
you
you're like,
do.
I don't know, what do you do with your hands?
I know what you do with your hands, and I know why you enjoy holding the mic.
Like, this is good. It was like, I felt safe.
Yeah, that's what you tell me as well. You feel safe. This is your safe space. This is your safe space.
I've got you, babe.
Do you need a safe space? Well, I will win when you need these safe spaces as you, quote, hold the mic. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the debauchery episode, apparently, where we're just talking about Saxony holding the mic and making jokes about it.
We should preface this with we're really delusional in a good way. So this should be really a really funny episode.
It was an interesting night last night.
Well, not just last night, but the whole week. But last night was like the cherry on top.
It's been a long week. We had an event, which we're going to talk about here in a second. We were just joking that literally Saxony has been crying for a week straight.
It is not a joke. It's Thursday to Thursday.
Guys, have you ever had your wife or girlfriend or significant other cry for a week straight? Let me tell you, it's enjoyable. It's fantastic. Oh my God.
Good cry though. Good cry. There's so many good things happening to our family, and I am a huge crier.
What's interesting is you weren't a crier for a long time, and now you're a crier.
No, I was never a crier.
Yeah.
I was very guarded and very walled up.
So
Be careful.
She started crying a couple of days before the event. So we just had a big Lions Den Live event, which is my annual event for my coaching group, Lions Den. And that was last Friday and Saturday.
Yeah.
So a little less than a week ago. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But the build up to that was, 500 people coming from out of town, 500 clients that came in from out of town. Then we put this whole event on, and we have some people on a staff and had people at the venue and our team in-house and stuff. But, dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of hours over, the span of 2 months, really, to get ready for this event and to put on an event. And I'm very critical, I guess you could say. I want everything to be the best. I'm top notch, the whole thing. And so we're running pretty hard. We're pushing pretty hard to put this event together. And Sax just couldn't hold it together. She just cried the whole fucking time. She basically just cried the whole time. I'm like, babe, this is a great day. She's like, boy, no, it's so emotional. And I'm like, can we just go 24 hours without tears, please? No, but
let's tell the real story.
Yeah, go ahead. You tell the real story, babe.
I am like the mama bear of mama bears, and I am such an incredibly proud wife. And seeing it started when you had these big window banners at the event space, and we drove by, and I immediately started crying because watching my husband step into a really scary place. You could do this 1,000 times, and I believe that you'll always be scared because you want to show up in a way that's your best. And I'm so proud of you. I watch it, and I see you expand, and it's just I'm full of pride to the point where I'm just so emotional. And every person that walked on that stage that spoke, especially the Den Talks, these are my people. Does it need to be closer? Yeah. These are my people. I'm so proud. It's like mama bear. So everything my heart was just wide open. And so, I cried a lot. It was beautiful.
It really was. And when you're emotionally vested into something, it gets emotional. It's very emotional. I take these events, I take my coaching, I take my business, very seriously. I have a ton of fun with it. It's a good time, but it's knowing that people come literally from around the world to spend 3 days with me and us I take it very seriously. And so when you're in that space and you're seeing people's emotions and you're seeing people getting excited and getting emotional and the energy there, it's like it's a really, really, really cool, powerful, emotional space.
It is, and it's beautiful. And then on top of that, we had our two oldest graduate high school, which
So we had the event, and then yesterday, so 48 hours later after the event's over, Tyne,
my big boy,
Tyne, Saxony's oldest boy, graduates. I was emotional there, real talk. I shed a tear, and not just for Tyne, but it was like just watching these kids like graduating and walking across the stage and this experience and this moment in their life. I'm like, I want to shove them back in a box. I want to be like, no, don't leave here. Stay in school. Stay a child.
They're
like
not ready
the
yet.
real world fucking sucks.
No.
Don't come out here and see these human beings. Like go back into the innocence of high school and live in your parents' basement and you don't need a job. It's like I was having like all of these emotions around it. And then today, my daughter, Bryn, she graduated and she was having a kind of a traumatic day, and we had to kind of talk her into getting there. And long story short, she has lupus and she was having a flare up. And those of you that know about lupus, it's a pretty severe, non-curable disease. And they have these quote flare ups where literally her joints like ache, like she can't move physically, like can't move, and it's just extraordinarily painful. And so
she's such a savage, though. She just shows the fuck up in life. She's so rad.
I got a text from my ex-wife at 6 a.m. saying Bryn's having a flare-up and she's not coming to graduation. I'm like, yo, I don't care if I got to get a wheelchair. Like, we're going to bring you because you can't miss this. And so
you would have gone for the helicopter before you go to the wheelchair.
But anyway, she went through today and had graduation, and it was great. And she walked, and it was amazing and beautiful. And so it's been an emotional week. It's been an emotional couple weeks, which is really cool, right?
It's so cool.
We joke about it and we laugh about it, but I would much rather have emotions than be emotionless.
Yeah.
I'd much rather be a crier than not.
That was
You know
on
what I
record.
mean? What?
That was on record.
Yeah, dude, I cry all the time. I got no shame in saying that. But like I would much rather be emotional and have the emotions that we do in life of the ups and the downs and the highs and the lows than not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's a big part of being all in, though. When you're all in, like, you are fully in it. The good and the bad. And it's beautiful. I totally agree with you. I have a lot of polarity with that. I lived a lot of my life completely numb. I turned off to it all. And it is something to be fully invested emotionally in all that we do and other people. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful.
Right. Well, we were talking about it and what we wanted to share, today on the podcast and what we wanted to talk about. And the thing that kept coming up was basically doing scary shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, not just in relationships and whatever else, but like this last, couple months has been filled with doing scary shit. Everything from the event to literally raising children, helping them go through these final exams and where are we going to go and what are we going to do, and tying like making the jump and the step to going to college, to Bryn having these conversations. And I don't give a damn who you are. If you're a parent, it's fucking terrifying. It's terrifying. Like, my kid's done with school. That's it. Like, no more. It's not like, okay, they go to school anymore. Like, I have a child out of the house now. Well, not, she's still in the house, but
I don't know about that with those
not
two,
done. I mean, done with school, hosting an event for 500 people is thrilling. It's exhilarating, but it's terrifying at the same time. When you truly love and appreciate like growth and expansion, you realize like not only how serious it is, but it's terrifying. You know what I mean? What about this? And what if this? And what if this? And what if this? And here's 500 people that show up, to hear me for a couple of days and see what I've got cooking and what I can deliver in this value. And it's like, what if I have this mind fucking? I even said that to you. Remember when I said to you like a couple of days before? I was like, I wonder what happened if like it had a total mental breakdown and just didn't show up. You remember we were talking about that? And you just looked at me like, you wouldn't do that. And I'm like, well, what if? You know what I mean? But like,
of all the people I've met in my life, you are the last person that will truly burn it down.
No, I won't burn it down. I'll definitely have mental breakdowns and midlife crises every other day. But I'll still show up. I mean, I'd be in the back, having my meltdown on the whole thing, like, and I'd still show up.
But that's what makes you a good leader.
Yeah.
That's truly, and I said this on stage when I was talking about you, is that's truly what makes you so good at what you do. Is you're like only one step ahead of your tribe, and they resonate with that. They know like they're watching you level up as they're leveling up, and that makes you that authenticity makes you so attractive to. Because you get in the trenches. You're in the trenches with your tribe, and it's incredible. Even with I want to talk about like the co-creation of the event with you and I.
Sure.
That was a really vulnerable place for you. I could tell, like, you've not had a partner to this degree at one of the events. I was at last year's, but I was more of just an invite.
Bystander. An innocent bystander.
An innocent bystander. And, there were moments that, there's a little bit of not necessarily a power struggle, but learning. This is what's beautiful. Like, I love that we share so much about our relationship with our tribe, including you all, is, we're sitting there and there was a little bit of a tug of war, and you're learning as I'm learning to like let go of control and know that not control in a negative way, but knowing that you've got a co-creator, you've
trusting
got
people,
you've
having
got a partner.
trust.
Yeah.
Even that aspect of this is scary. Trusting people.
Yeah.
I mean, trusting people is terrifying, right? What if they let me down? What if they do this? What if they do that? I mean, every facet, and that's really what we want to talk about today is like understanding that on the flip side of the scariness is really where the growth comes. We spend most of our time trying to protect ourselves. We spend most of our time trying to, we talk big, we want to grow, we want to expand, but we avoid doing the shit that helps us get there.
Right.
You know what I mean? We go and do the workouts that we're comfortable with versus the workouts that actually help us grow. We have the basic rudimentary conversations in our relationship because they're simple, because they're easy, because they're not threatening, but where we want to go and need to go is on the other side of the scary conversations. It's the same thing in business.
Yes.
You want to expand, you want to grow, you want to go from $100,000 to $500,000 or $1 million to $5 million. And that means you've got to reinvest. You've got to double down. You've got to, expand, grow, buy a new system, hire new people, any of these other things. And it's scary. It's scary to do these things. And you can take scary, define it however you want, right? I like the word terrifying. You say scary, whatever the fuck. You know what I mean by this. If you're listening to this, you know what the hell I'm talking about.
It's really about showing the fuck up.
Yeah.
Like going in, and living it, and doing it.
But like the truth is everything that I have ever expanded from or with has come from something that scared me.
Yeah.
It's come from something that scared me. Whether it's investing, whether it's buying, whether it's asking a woman to marry me, whether it's dating, whether it's even just like the simplicity of having conversations in dating, right? Breaking this down, just let's talk relationships for a second, and we'll talk about the event, but like as you're dating, right? It's scary to talk about your truth, right? So what do? We talk about the weather and the birds and our favorite sports and our favorite vacation spots and the things that make us laugh and sometimes the things that make us cry and how we love puppies and, we love hamburgers with blah, 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 blah. But like, where the growth happens is when you talk about your fears, when you talk about your insecurities, when you talk about the fear that you have of not being loved and not being accepted and not being welcomed or, all of these aspects that we dodge and we stay away from. And I think, for you and I think the reason that our relationship accelerated the way that it did and landed us here is we spent a lot of time playing small. You know what I mean? And it's easy to do that. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, this isn't going to get me what I want. Let's try this over here. And it's like, I'm going to rip myself open to some uncomfortable shit, some truth. And this
right
person
out of the
is,
gates.
this person is either going to accept it and appreciate it and welcome it and take it, or they're not, And I have found over and over and over again in life, in every aspect, whether it's, you show up for the first day with a trainer. You hire a trainer because you're out of shape. You're scared to do that. You're scared to look stupid. You're scared to throw up. You're scared to be, a fat, jiggly wad of shit when you really want to be like ripped. No, it's true. Like I know that. I've been there. I've felt that. And you're scared, right? You're scared to have these conversations with your lover. You're scared to do the events, right? To say the things that need to be said, to invest. I mean, I'm getting ready to launch this app with, the Lion's Den, and it's scary to like spend the amount of time and money to build something without having a guarantee on the back end, without having a guarantee that my clients will like it, that people will appreciate it, that people will use it, that I can scale it and grow it and make money with it, right?
It's a really good thing that you just said. There is no guarantee.
No.
Like there is no guarantee, so do scary shit anyways.
Right. But
There's no
and that's
of
what,
anything.
we talked about some of the things, like some of the stories from Lions Den Live that I think were applicable to this. Like, I don't know. I didn't know the outcome of Lions Den Live. I know what's happened in the past, and I like to think that I'm smart enough and brave enough, if you will, to know, okay, I've had the same feeling in the past. I put these events on, and they're scary to me, and will this many people, and we had 200 people at the last one, we had 500 at this one. Will 500 people buy tickets? Will 500 people show up? Will this happen? Will the speakers do well? All of these other things.
Will they pay for VIP?
And
that was the
for
first
any
time
of
you
that,
did that,
right?
yeah.
It's the first time I've offered any type of, different opportunity, a more connected opportunity, like through VIP tickets or whatever. But the truth is like when I was sharing this at Lions Den Live, like showing up is really the key fundamental in this conversation of doing scary shit, right? It's really simple to avoid stuff. It's really simple to sit back and be an observer. But the reality is, like, until you climb to the top of the cliff to jump off into the lake, it's really easy to sit in the boat and analyze it and talk about it and theorize about it. But when you get your ass off the boat and you climb to the top of the cliff, when you go to the event center, in my case, and say, here are my dates, I want to book this place, and they say, great, it's $15,000 deposit for this place. And this is months in advance, months before you've ever sold a ticket, ever booked a speaker, ever done anything. And I'm sitting there writing them a check. It's scary. But I have found over and over that where we're sitting literally right now, 72 hours post-event, I'm more brave. I have more capacity than I've probably ever had in my entire life because I was willing to do the scary shit. I have found that you and I, when we have these conversations on our relationship where I might not want to say certain things to you, I might not want to tell you how I feel, I might not want to tell you what you're doing right now is this for me or that for me, or it brings this up or it brings that up. But I have found, and we have found over and over and over again, that the flip side or the other side of the coin is really where tremendous growth happens, where miracles happen, where things happen. I mean, when we were at case in point, we'll talk about that story from Lions Den Live, the couple. I won't name any names out of respect for them. And maybe we have them on the show one day and have a conversation, and I think it'd be beautiful. But I want to give you kind of an example of this. Is we were in the middle of Lions Den Live, and we were having some engagement. We were doing like a Q&A, and this sweet lady got up, and she started to explain the story of how, her husband, who was sitting right next to her, his ex-wife was basically like not allowing him to see the children. And she was going on and on and on about how he really wants to be part of his kids' lives. He wants to be involved with them, but she won't allow it. And she's the roadblock, and she's this and she's this. And the question really wasn't making a whole lot of sense to me because she was all over the place, right? She was emotional and crying, which, I mean.
We do that.
Yeah, you do that. But I was like, okay, sister, I really don't understand your question. Like, what's your fucking question, right? And I asked her a few times, and then finally he got up, and he's like, this is the deal. Like, I haven't been part of my kids' lives. They're, what did he say, like 20-something?
Well, I had asked, I was like, how old are
18
these kids?
18 or 19.
The
They
story
were all
sounded
adults,
like,
right?
Yeah, they were older.
They were all over 18, I believe.
No.
Well, one was
No.
one was under 18, but the other two were older. And so he's explaining this to me, and I'm like, well, where do these kids live? And he's like, they're only like 20 minutes away from me. And you could feel like in the room where everybody that knows me knows where I was going with this. They're like, well, oh shit. Because if you come into my space and have these conversations, I mean, truthfully, that's why people are there.
Yep.
That's why people invest their time and their money, is not to dodge around and whatever they want results. And this is something that I feel like God has given me a gift at, is looking through some of these people's stories and really getting down to the truth. And I looked at them and I'm like, these are adults, bro. Like, your ex-wife has nothing to fucking do with the relationship that you have with them. Now, if they're 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, and you have a divorce decree that says ABC XYZ, that's a different story. It's like, these are fucking adults. Most of your kids are adults. You had 3 kids. And so I just looked at him and like, why are you not part of these kids' lives? And we had a very, very, very...
He was really debating if he should just give up or not.
Yeah.
He just was like on this teeter, like, do I keep trying or should I just give up?
And I think I know exactly what he was looking for. Yeah. And he was looking for that permission. And he was, in a way almost waving the flag like, hey, man, tell me what it is that I think that I know and that I really want. I need to hear it from you, kind of a thing, which might sound weird to some of you listening, but that's really what I have found coaching is I'm not revealing anything extraordinary or miraculous to people. I'm helping them see sometimes things that they already know, that they already feel, that they already believe, but they just need the permission, if you will. Not like, hey, it's okay for you to go to the bathroom now, but like when you're talking hard shit, when you're talking scary shit, you have to have a level of confidence and trust and respect in somebody who's going to punch you in the face, that they're doing that out of love, that they're doing that out of care and concern. And I feel like, to be really candid, this is the gift that God has given me. He's allowed me to go into the hell that I've been into in my life to be able to experience it, live it, eat it, breathe it, sleep it, understand it, so that as other people are there, I have true empathy for them. But I also have the ability to show them like where I was and how I got here. And ultimately, when hugs are necessary, I'm a hugger, but 9 times out of 10, it takes you getting punched in the fucking mouth, figuratively, for you to go, oh shit, this is the deal. And I just looked at him. I'm like, why the fuck are you not calling your kids? And what was fascinating to me is this dude, he was probably 6'5". He was a beast. The dude was like 280 pounds. He was a fucking stout dude. And here I am on stage, like looking at him like, look, motherfucker, I want you to literally pick up your phone right now and I want you to call them. Because he started getting emotional. I was like, do you want to be part of your kids' lives? And he said, yes. And I was like, you're their fucking father, bro. Like, you're their father. And there's probably a lot more to the story and a lot more to the backstory of his fears, of his inadequacies, of his inability to realize that, a lot of men, I think, come to a realization that they didn't spend the time with their children that they wanted to, and in a way feel like, well, I fucked that up. I can't do anything about it. There's a lot of men that I coach and a lot of men that I run into that are like, I wasn't there for years. My kids don't want me to be part of their life. And that was part of his story, is like, they don't really want me to be part of their life. Their mom doesn't want me. And at the end of the day, this was this man's excuse for not doing some really scary things. And so I literally looked at him like, dude, get the fuck up right now, walk out into the lobby, and I want you to call your kids. And of course, everybody's clapping and crying, and it was super emotional, and everybody's got tears, and it was a really powerful experience. Like, really, really powerful. Yeah, for me, for everybody else. And we finished that part of the experience, that part of the day, and I invited the next speaker up onto the stage, and immediately I went into the back. And I walked around. I was like, "Where is he?" Because he hadn't come back in, and his wife was out there. And so we found him. I walked around and I went out into the lobby. And I mean,
all I see is Sean going and the film crew's chasing, and I was like, "Oh, it's just going down."
I wanted to find him, man. I wanted to see. Like, I'm not a like hype up. Like, let's just do this for the footage and get some cool pictures and shit. Like, I realized that moment, and I said this: if the entire 3 months of planning Lions Den Live, if the entire 3 days of 60-something hours was for that one man and that one moment and that one family, that makes the entire thing worth it for me. Yeah. That one man, that one family, that one experience. If God was like, yo, you need to come into this dude's life on this Saturday afternoon, you're going to need to put on this event and do all of these things, then to me it's worth it. Yeah. Right? And I ended up finding him in the lobby. And you'd have thought it was really tender. Like, both of them were just literally like, they looked like a train wreck. They were bawling their eyes out. Their eyes were swollen. It was like, it looks like they had been crying for months. They had, the buckets were poured on their head. They were just like, literally, like, their shirts were wet, like crying, like lip quivering, crying. And I found him and I went up to him and, I'm standing here literally like chest to chest with him. And I'm like, what happened? And that was like the first thing I said to me. And he was almost, he almost couldn't talk.
Yeah.
He was so fucking emotional. And he's like, I called my son and he didn't answer. And then I called my ex-wife. He said, God told me to call my ex-wife. He's like, I didn't want to. I didn't know what would happen. And she picked up and he said, hey, can I talk to so-and-so, which was his daughter. And I don't remember how old his daughter was. I think she was
17.
like, 15, 16, 17.
Yeah.
And the ex-wife put the daughter on the phone. Yeah. And he's like, I haven't spoken to my kids in years. It's like, it's been years since I've spoken to my kids. And he's like, I had my daughter on the phone. And he looks at me and he said, I set up a date with my daughter. And then he like puts his hand on like my shoulder. He's like, I'm going to do what you do with your daughter. And I'm going to bring flowers. I'm going to pick her up. And I'm going to take her on a date. And she like looks at me. His wife looks at me. She's like, he just set a date to go on a date with his daughter. And they were just...
It was so amazing. I'm gonna cry again. And then then we had him back up. I know, I can't. I'm just
Jesus Christ.
I was there, and you're telling the story, and it's still the same impact. It was beautiful. So they got up on stage, and he told the story, and they're just sobbing, and it's like you can't script life when you choose to show up.
Yeah.
Like, you never know what God's going to give you. You never know what your impact is going to be on the world when you choose to show up. And that's like with Sean. It's like him choosing to show up for the event is incredible, because if Sean wouldn't have shown up for LDL and put on the event, then this person wouldn't have shown up in that space. And then this child would not have affected. So never underestimate the ripple effect of showing the fuck up in your life and
doing
how
scary
doing
shit,
scary things. Like that's how you make a real impact on your life and the lives of others. And I feel like that's why we're here.
Well, and what was really fascinating to me and really interesting about this specific experience was it was a phone call.
Yeah.
It was something as simple as a phone call. I mean, he was so stuck in fear of my kids won't accept me, my kids won't appreciate me. And he told me this when we were standing there in the lobby. He's like, I was so scared that I've been not the dad that I should have been, and I haven't been doing the things, obviously for years and years and years that I thought I needed to do. And so he had fear. He had tremendous, tremendous, tremendous fear around even connecting with his kids because he was humiliated. Yeah. He was embarrassed. He was like, he told me this. He's like, I was in so much fear that I didn't want to have that experience. He's like, I love my kids more than I can explain, and it's literally ripped my heart out to not be part of their lives. But I had so much fear, and this might not make sense to some people, and it really doesn't matter. Like, it makes sense to the people that need to understand it, and the people that are listening to this right now who understand this, who get this, who feel this more than anything, realize that you can be the baddest motherfucker in the room. You can be 6'5", 280 pounds, pure freaking solid-ass muscle, and be terrified to make a phone call. Yeah. Be terrified to send a text message. And this was a big burly man that if you saw on the streets, tattoos up his arms, tattooed hands, you would look at him and think this motherfucker had no fear.
Was such a bright light of a wife, too.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. There's a picture where I was holding her face, and I just was like,
up on stage.
You did this. Like, your bravery, your light. Like, you never underestimate how powerful that was that you stood up and did that. And she's just like, oh, this is such a beautiful example of not bringing your past into your present. Like, literally, you have the ability in any given moment to completely change the course of your life. And we've said that before, and probably say it over and over again. That was a tangible example of just that minor little change on the course, and the trajectory of your life will not be the same.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it was a really special experience, because I in that moment realized, like, me overcoming my fears had this ripple effect, and if you're listening to this and you understand that you've got fears, you have whatever it is, I mean, whether it's emotional, physical, psychological, whatever these fears are, understand that, like, the ripple effect of overcoming these things and doing these things, like, we had Summer and my ex-wife and her husband there, and quick backstory on that, like, I've invited Summer to I've invited her to Lions Den Live every single time I've done it for years. And it's never been the right timing. I'm not going to say, well, she said no, but she said no, basically. Like, it's okay. Like, thanks for the invite, but we're not going to come, or we're out of town, or whatever. And, you know, I invited her this time, and God was like, yo, like, let's make this happen. Like, they need to be there. And Summer and Justin, Summer's my ex-wife, and Justin, her husband, and you and I, Saxony and I were there. You know, we took the stage, and I was explaining to people, I was like, this has been something that I have, like, worked on, quote unquote, manifested, thought about, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I hate that word most of the times, just because people think you don't have to do any work, but the amount of work that I've done, and that she's done, and that we've all done over the years, like years and years and years, to get to this place, right? To rewrite stories, to overcome fear. And I was explaining this. I got super emotional. It was one of the very few times I got emotional, you know, during the event. That was one of them, when I was explaining to people, like, you have no clue, you know, when you come from a place of divorce and anger and bitterness and resentment and fear and frustration and all of these other things, like, you don't realize, like, how dark the hole really is, and the amount of work that it takes, the amount of, like, scary shit that you have to face, right? The building a relationship with someone that you have so much disdain and frustration for is incredibly difficult. It's incredibly scary. But to literally be able to have, you know, Summer and Justin come out on stage during the event, it was just like, yes, you know, it was like, we built this, we made this happen, and knowing the amount of work that it took, but knowing that how scary it was for really everybody to be able to make this a reality was so unbelievably humbling. But I had so many people message me literally over the last 2-3 days say, like, that was the highlight for them. It was not only seeing me, like, have my emotional reaction to this, knowing what it's taken to get here, but all four of us, and people literally seeing us do scary things. I mean, I was scared. Like, what is she going to say? Like, is she going to come out?
That's what I wanted to add is it didn't even occur to me, because we don't live in a place of scarcity, and we know Summer, and we know Justin, they have golden hearts. But from our audience, you know, a lot of people commented, like, the fact that you gave your ex-wife and her husband a microphone on a stage in front of 500 people in your tribe, that she literally could have said anything that she wanted.
Right.
Like, that's a really vulnerable place for you. And it didn't even occur to me, but that's true. Like, that is a very vulnerable place.
Right.
Like, she had trashed you.
Hey, she could have said anything. And I think us being in the place that we are was obviously
right.
We all knew how important this was, very selfishly for ourselves, but then obviously for the tribe and for our families and stuff. But that moment, that 45 minutes on the stage started 10 years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this is what I wanted people to understand. And sharing this is, we share these experiences with you because they're real. They're not these fictitious things that we just make up and they sound great to put on a podcast. But, this is what's
you
really...
can look up the restraining orders, and I'm pretty sure they're out there. It was a real...
this is what...
This is a real thing.
This is what we've been living and experiencing and building and doing. And the reason I wanted to share this, the reason that I think this is important to talk about, is simply because, every person listening to this has some sort of reservation, some sort of fear, some sort of attachment to fear. And it might be something what you think is dumb, like swimming with the sharks or holding a snake or doing something or investing or buying that house. Yeah, buying that house that you want to buy, or building that business, or telling someone you love them, or sending that text message, or making that phone call.
Or saying you're sorry and meaning it.
Yeah, I mean, any of these things, there's fear around all of that for a lot of people. And I am constantly reassured, constantly shown over and over and over again that, the more scary shit that I do, the better my life gets. Mm-hmm. Like, the more I step into fear, the more I see it, touch it, feel it, address it, walk right into it, walk right up to it, I win. Yeah. And I keep winning. And it's not winning just financially, but it's like it's winning across the board of your mindset, your mentality, your body, your relationships, growing my business. The very first order that I ever placed for apparel, you know what I mean? Like, as we went from making everything
Those
in-house.
were big for you.
It was huge, man.
Yeah.
The very first order I ever placed was almost $190,000. People don't realize that, right? Yeah. They see the glitz and the glamour now and all this other cool shit, but like we went from literally making our own T-shirts in-house, where I carried very little inventory, had very little exposure, very little risk, to my very first purchase order was $190,000, right? And I've done scary things so many times that it was fairly simple, but at the same time it was like, holy shit. I just ordered 37,000 garments, sweatshirts, T-shirts, tank tops, and I have no fucking idea if we're going to sell these things. The confidence is there, and it's like, yeah, we'll do this, whatever. Mm-hmm. But all of a sudden I was like, 37,000 garments. Mm-hmm. And this is obviously 15 POs ago, right? And so it's become second nature to now spend that money and do these things because it's what I've done. But that's the point.
Yeah.
It's like getting into the gym and getting your ass kicked by a trainer. You do that enough times, and then all of a sudden you kind of want it. You become accustomed to it. You realize that the more I do this, the better I'm going to be. The more conversations you have with your lover that are intimidating, that are heavy, that are big, whatever it is, mm-hmm. the simpler they get. You and I don't spend a whole lot of time in drama land. Mm-mm. We don't spend a whole lot of time in bullshit because we face the scary shit. We take it head on. We walk right up to it, address it, boom. You have your emotional reaction to it. I'll have my emotional reaction to it, whether it's a couple of minutes, a couple of hours, a day, mm-hmm. and then bang, you do what you need to do. You process and you keep moving. Across the board, this, in my opinion, is the simplest, quickest, I shouldn't say simple. This is probably the most effective way
it becomes
to power.
Simple.
Yeah, it is simple when you do it,
mm-hmm.
but I want you guys listening to understand this, that all of those things that you're afraid of, that you're sitting back on right now, you know what they are. You don't need to, you know what they are. Mm-hmm. And you can lie about it or you can tell the truth, because at the end of the day, that truth is the quickest path, quickest, fastest path to results.
Yeah.
But if you think about this, like all of those things that you've been putting off, that you're afraid of, in every single aspect of Core 4, power, passion, purpose, and production, all of those things are literally like what's holding you back from power. Having this event, putting this event on, standing up on stage, facing this man, having this reality, this conversation, did a lot for me. We talked about this yesterday. Like, I truly feel like my business, my game, my mindset is in a level that it's never been before. Mm-hmm. And I know that it happened by having this event, hosting this event, putting on this event, and then literally being able to stand in this place with this man and multiple experiences, sitting there with my ex-wife, sitting there with you, mm-hmm. to now do this thing even bigger and to go even bigger. Right. You know what I mean? You and I, our relationship, we have sticking points. We have things that are scary, that are difficult, and every single time we face them, it's like we just get deeper and deeper and deeper, stronger and stronger and stronger.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And there's levels to it. The intensity at the next level is going to be even more, and the conversation is going to be even more. But it's the same thing at the gym. Mm-hmm. I want to go from 20% body fat to 10% body fat. That's scary because you know what's going to have to happen. Right. You know the type of person that you're going to need to become to get those results. And that's scary in a lot of ways.
As you guys know, we've mentioned before, I'm no longer terrified to speak on stage because I've done it enough times. I'm not terrified. I'm just uncomfortable now. I thought about this. It's like, even as parenting, like, mm-hmm. we tell our kids to dream big. We tell them that they can do anything in the world that they want to do, but yet we don't show up. So subliminally or subconsciously, they don't believe that that's real because we're not modeling that. So part of like my experience of going on stage and having our kids in the audience and seeing their parents up there. And we had another gal, we had 14 people from the Den speak on stage. And that was the highlight of it for me, because 14 people that have never spoke on stage, they were terrified.
Yep. And
one of the gals, she's just a firecracker, she's so amazing, her kids were in the crowd. And she's like, I'm doing this for my kids. she was so proud to show the fuck up and do scary shit to prove to her kids that this is how we do things. Your mama does this, I do this, and it was so freaking amazing. And some of the other den members, there's a few that were sick. They were literally sick, pacing, and I loved that I had the experience where I had so much empathy because I'd literally just been in that same place of so sick that it became almost like a party back there. It was so fun because there were so many nerves and excitement and just to see all of these people show up and do scary shit. Yeah. And not one of them regretted it. Not one of them. If anything, they immediately got on and were just like, they burst open to a whole new level. Like Scott. Oh, yeah. I mean, his level up within literally 6 minutes. I was even teasing him because he was probably the most nervous.
He's ready to run through
and
a
he
brick
took
wall.
An extra minute, and I was like, look at you out there getting comfortable so fast. You went from 5 to 6 minutes, and that was a whole new exposure. And, this is, most of these people are, their parents, they're in the middle age. They're not kids doing scary shit. Like, think about leveling up at 50. How cool is that to do scary shit and not even know that what else is out there, what's on the other side of fear. And I personally witnessed that, hence the emotion, seeing each of these people step into that, do it, walk out and be like, damn. Mm-hmm. And where cool. That ripple effect, where they'll take that into their little sphere of influence and where that'll affect in life, it's such a beautiful thing to witness.
Yeah, well, I mean, fear and doing these scary things is the formula and the recipe to power.
Yeah.
It's the formula and the recipe to power. So I'd have you consider for a second that if you want to be more powerful, do scarier shit.
Yeah.
If you want more power, do scarier things. Mm-hmm. It's really that simple. Like if you want to get every aspect to go for, you want to get bigger, you got to go train harder. You got to get a different coach. You got to get a better coach, a bigger coach, whatever it is. Taking the quote unquote risks and building the business is the only way to that growth. I mean, it's the only way, right? And so I'd have you consider that the scarier of the things that you're doing, the scarier they are, the bigger you're going. You know what I mean? And the formula that I have found, not to be repetitive, but I'm going to repeat it because people need to really fucking understand this, is like, if you want to grow, if you want to be powerful, and I'm not just talking about, some weird, dictatorship kind of a deal, but if you really want power in your life, emotionally, psychologically, physically, you've got to do scary shit. Mm-hmm. You have to go down those rabbit holes. You have to open up those doors. The scarier it is, the bigger the return. The scarier it is, the bigger the other side of the coin is, and the bigger the future looks, in my opinion.
I had a moment when we were sitting on stage with Ed. I was thinking, I kind of looked back at my life and looked at the timeline and thought about all the small, brave moments that I had to make that led me to sitting on a stage. I mean, it took things on such small scales to even become the person that would be in a space to be able to show up and be light. Yeah. Model bravery. It's incredible. And it starts with small things. Like, you don't have to go, right up to a stage and start throwing events, which I think you should. Cause,
shit, you might as well, dude. If that's the ticket, then do it.
But yeah, it's like start small and build, let it compound, build your confidence. Just start showing up. Yeah.
I wanted to give you guys a couple of resources and a couple tools, right? Because the question is, okay, cool. I know what my fears are. Now what, right? Mm-hmm. Like, how do I do this? What are some things that you can do? Years and years and years ago, I was able to speak and talk and all these other things, and then went through my bankruptcy and my divorce and all of this other stuff, and I was terrified to speak. I went from literally being able to speak on stage and training and teaching and the whole thing to being afraid to even talk to people. And so my coach had, the divine instruction to say to me to use social media. And so I started posting on social media because I was afraid to. And so those first initial actions, if you go back and even looking at YouTube, my original videos on YouTube, it was like I was like a little kid. I was terrified. Little baby face. But for those of you that want to have legitimate tools, one of the things that I love about social media is it's so big, but at the same time, it's so exposing because you can share a message and it can go anywhere. It can also help you. It can also hence almost 1 billion video or views of my videos from the very first post of mine that went viral, right? But one of the things that you can start doing now is literally sharing on social media. A lot of people are scared of that. Just period. Whether you're sharing a video of you playing with your kids or whatever, speaking anything on the social media, it's scary. But start sharing your truth. Start sharing these things. And I promise you, if you're looking, okay, I'm tired of living in fear. I'm tired of living in this little bubble. I want to gain power. I want to gain strength. I want to gain momentum. I want to gain confidence. Use this tool in your hands that's called a cell phone, and use this free resource that's almost like a therapist. I know it sounds really weird, but I first started sharing. I first started sharing, and it was like a therapy for me. It was like the more I did it, it was scary to start sharing my things online, but that's why I did it. And it was like the more I did, the more confident I got. The more I, quote unquote, aired out my shit. And I'm not just saying, guys, to go on there and do a 10-minute diatribe of all of your past, indiscretions. What I'm talking about is starting sharing fears.
Yeah.
Use this free resource, this free tool that is really scary for a lot of people, and put things out there. Start sharing who you are, what you're afraid of, what you're proud of, all of these
vulnerable.
other things.
There's so much power in
Be
vulnerability.
super vulnerable. Well, and number one, it's free, but number two, every single person listening to this has a cell phone and probably has social media as well. But start there. Start sharing things. Start sharing your compassion, your love, all of these other things, because that is a vulnerable place for most people to be, hence being scary. So I strongly, strongly, strongly encourage you guys. And the reason I'm sharing this with you and the reason that I'm encouraging you to do this is exactly what I did.
Yeah.
People think that somehow I was born with this gift of being able to share and to talk and all these other things. And I was not that kid. I was a shy, introverted kid. I was literally mortified of the fact that I had gone through a bankruptcy and gone through depression and had all of these quote unquote things hanging around in my life. And my coach had the wisdom to be able to say, hey, start sharing these things on this portal and on this platform, because it was terrifying to me. And so I'm encouraging you guys right here, right now, if you want to start building power, if you want to start building confidence, if you want to start building clarity, start sharing using social media.
I love that.
What do you think? Great. What else would you suggest, babe? What other tool and resource? Let's leave everybody with a couple tools and resources that they can use.
My thing is when you're going through a win, share it. Don't hide. There's this mindset of people are gonna truly, people, we hear this constantly. People struggle sharing their wins because they're like, oh, people are gonna think I'm a narcissist, or I'm cocky, or I'm bragging, and it's like, winners love to see people win. Share your wins and share your struggles. If you read through anything that Sean and I write on our Instagram, we share our darkness, we share our wins, we share everything. And it's because it's I love to get it outside of me. So if I'm struggling, if I share it with you, then I know it's in a weird way. It's like if I can do someone else a favor with what I'm going through by shining a light that they feel less alone. I love that. That makes it worth it to me. And it also makes me feel connected that, I want to be able to be a light, and I don't always have light. Sometimes I'm in my darkness, and I love to see when other people share their darkness in a way that's, they're really being vulnerable. I'm and that resonates with me, because I'm if you're going through that and I'm going through that, it makes me feel less weird or less broken, or these words that maybe your mind is
also
creating.
give you strength.
Yeah, it's
scary for you to do, but at the same time, it's power for somebody else to hear and receive it.
And it's truly releasing. It becomes to me now.
That's that permission
people,
we talk about.
People just mention that Sean and I all the time. They're like, you guys are so open. You're so honest. And it's as I would love all of you guys to be open and honest. We don't share our lives with you for any other reason than we just love sharing our lives. We just do.
It makes us, I'll speak to that. It's very selfish for me. It's very, very selfish for me, because the more I do it, the stronger I feel. I've shared this 1,000 times. The very first post that I ever posted that went viral, two things happened. Number one, I realized how relatable I was to so many people. How many people related to me, right? Here I was sharing my darkness. The very first post of mine that ever went viral years ago, I realized millions and millions of people who liked it, shared it, commented on it, related to me. Yeah. And that was my darkness. So I was like, well, shit, all these people are relating to me. It's not a great filter picture. It's not this. It's like my darkness. Yeah. And then the second thing that happened that forever changed me is I felt better. And so I started looking at this saying, well, if me exposing myself, exposing my life, exposing my inside, everything going on is literally the same thing that I would spend $250 an hour on a therapist on, like feeling better, why wouldn't I just keep doing this?
Yeah.
And so I would challenge you guys to really take assessment of, as you're sharing, as if you take this challenge, you start, sharing on social media, how do you feel? It's scary at first, terrifying at first. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you're like, man, that feels good to get that out there. That feels good to relate to these people. And look at how many people relate to me. Right. Right. And then all of a sudden you're like, wait, I feel good too. Yeah. Like I'm feeling better. And if you're halfway smart, do the things that relate you to people as you want to build a business and market, so on and so forth. But number two, keep doing the things that make you feel good. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And I know we keep plugging the Den, but this reminds me of the Den, right. Sean's coaching group. It is literally a really condensed version of social media, sharing wins, throwing wins back at each other and supporting. And it's beautiful because we live in that environment, and not a lot of people live in that environment of just like, winners just throwing, it's just, everyone's always celebrating, and people come in with their darkness, and they come in and they give them feedback and they build them up. And so this is the culture of how we live our lives anyways.
100%.
It's done.
100%.
It's beautiful.
Anything else, babe? Anything else you want to share on this?
Good conversation. God, I didn't cry.
Huh?
I didn't cry.
What are you talking about? You cried half the fucking episode.
No, I just teared up.
Oh. Yeah, so you just teared up. That's different than crying, apparently. All right, guys, we love you. We appreciate you. Thank you for listening. If you know someone right now, final thought. If you know somebody right now that needs to hear this, that is maybe living in fear, maybe living in a place of scarcity, maybe not all in, somebody that's gone through some shit, somebody that's dealt with some stuff, maybe it's you. Stuck. They're just stuck and they need to break out. Please share this with them. Yeah. Please comment on it. Share it, send them the link from iTunes or Google Play or wherever you're listening to this. Share this episode, because I truly believe, like, as we continue to share our messages and you guys resonate with them, we love hearing from you. Yeah. But share the message, get it out there, help other people, really learn what it is that we're doing. And if they hear this and you feel like they need this, please share. And I encourage you guys to follow us on Instagram as well. We share a lot of these little micro content on this topic. Yeah. And our Facebook page. Yes, on our Facebook page. And we just try to respond to messages too. Yeah. We appreciate it. We truly appreciate it, indeed. All right, guys. Have an amazing week. Please please comment, please share with people. And we're sorry you missed last week's episode. We were exhausted. We will see you guys next time. Love you. Bye. Bye.